racist.
She pushed me.
Am I bothered?
Oh my God, that was well bad. I thought I was going to be sick or something.
I dream that I'm going to bolt.
You can see me dressed up as a hedgehog.
Only 17 hours to go now, babes.
I'll just drive around. 4-1.
Well, that all went very well, I thought.
£50? He won't here 5 minutes.
I'm Catherine Tate, and tonight I'll be taking you on an unashamed romp through the spectacular comedy of The Noughties. Am I bothered? This was the decade where comedy took its ideas from every part of British life. We poked fun at its grim realities.
Don't make me redundant.
And left no stone unturned in the pursuit of laughs.
I think that we have plenty of life.
Hello! What?
A fucking shit pun in a newspaper and a face like Doc Cotton licking pests off a nettle.
He's a large dog player.
Every bloke in the office is woken up at the crack of dawn.
What?
The Noughties, for me, had a bit of everything in it. So it was a sort of kind of very hopeful and exciting time.
The Noughties were the Noughties, in that things got wilder and wilder, I'd say.
I suppose people had more licence to do things and you could get away with things.
I mean, the Noughties comedically have been very, very sort of self-confident at the moment. You've got stand-up being very self-confident, character comedy being very self-confident, and then sort of real comedy, you know, reality comedy being very, very strong.
Those are the rules, and if we didn't have rules, where would we be? France! If we had too many rules, where would we be? Germany!
The Noughties was a time when celebrity culture exploded and comedians delighted in sending them up.
You'll find out the truth beyond the Spice Girls split. Ooh.
If you could dress as them and recognise that that's them, then we would do them. And with Mel B, she wears leopard skin. It didn't have to look like her or sound like her, even though that's exactly how she speaks.
That ginger one should be scary, Spice. She fucking is scary.
But it wasn't just celebrities we laughed at. No one was safe from a new wave of Noughties pranksters who took practical jokes to the extreme.
I once carry a woman against her will for near 1 mile.
And there were comedies in the Noughties that made for a very uncomfortable watch indeed.
I think if the Noughties gave anything to comedy, it's the cringe.
This guy does the best Ali G impersonation. I can't do it. Go on.
I don't. I think you...
Sorry, no, it's not you, it's the other one.
The other what?
Packing. Ah. That's racist.
Razor-sharp satire exposed the seedy world of spin, telling politicians exactly what we thought of them.
This is really crossing the line.
Don't start with the moral objections, you fucking blue-Peter badge-wearing ponce.
Here you had rage. You had the best swearing ever on television, but also swearing that, from what we hear, is absolutely authentic.
But it wasn't all profanity and rage. Comedy in the Noughties also revelled in unashamed silliness.
The advent of Miranda has been like sunshine. It's all about the recovery, isn't it?
To help me tell the story of Noughties comedy, I'm going to be meeting the trailblazers behind it, who also happen to be my mates.
It's quite funny for people to do their characters to you. Like, I'd be signing after the show, and someone would come dressed as Anne, and I'd see him, Nicky, and I'd go, oh my God, what are they doing? I'd sign Nicky.
You become the character, and I sort of saw things through his eyes, and it was only when I watched it months later, I went, oh yeah, I can see why people say this is a tough watch.
Yeah.
My first pickup, please.
Do you get called surreal? Yes. Surreal, like a sort of, offbeat, quirking.
If you get bored, just press the red button on your remote control, yeah? And you can see me dressed up as a hedgehog.
dancing away, grooving around. What's going on? Nothing? Come on. Enjoy the show.
My romp through noughties comedy starts at the beginning of the millennium, when Britain felt it could take on the world, when we had a Prime Minister empowered by a buoyant economy, when I was excited at the prospect of launching my comedy career, and when we were about to light the blue touch paper and enter the 21st century. The government even showered us with gifts. We got a shiny new Millennium Wheel from which we could look out across our affluent capital city. And we got a dome, a £700 million pleasure dome, if you like, from where we could see in the new millennium.
The noughties went from, yay, Tony Blair, things can only get better, to real gut-wrenching disappointment and anger. So there's a real curve of, yeah, There was 9/11, of course, which changed everything politically and militarily. The threat of fundamentalism and war. We were at war. We went to war in 2 wars, and one at least which was incredibly unpopular and which meant that people completely lost respect for the governing classes.
If you looked at the noughties, to me, I think it's like a sort of graph, and it would start up here and then just go right down. I mean, you couldn't really screw up a beginning like that worse, really.
So how did we react to it? Well, to help us escape the doom and gloom, we turned our attention to celebrity culture, a treasure trove of potential gags and send-ups which gave comedians plenty of opportunity for fun and mischief.
Hello to you, I am at the Soap Awards, and the security guards have just gone for a shit, so I am going to sneak in right now. Shh, don't tell anybody.
When you're in a waiting room or something, you do pick up Heat magazine and go, oh my God, look at her, she's strong.
Look at her stomach, and with the wipe on my sex, we're all over me.
I think we've always been obsessed with celebrities. What changed by the noughties, because of the internet and because of the access to the internet and because of reality TV, is that it was like, everyone can be a celebrity. So there was this sort of massive throughput, shoveling celebrities through.
Yes, the noughties gave us reality TV, and the king of them all was Big Brother, which gave a whole new meaning to the phrase 15 minutes of fame.
It's live! Hello! I'm the live on Channel 4. Please don't say fuck or bugger. And welcome to a special street-based special. Don't try to shut down oblivious Big Brother 4 special!
Celebrity now seems to be, people want to be a celebrity. To me, you're famous for being good at something, hopefully, or maybe bad at something. But to be a celebrity for celebrity's sake doesn't exist, except it does.
So celebrity gossip was king in the noughties. And it's only right that the first comedian I'm about to meet is one who made his mark by reinventing the celebrity chat show.
Did you see the pictures of Elton John's baby and OK? When I first heard it had a baby, I thought, so that explains the weight gain, the mood swings, the big swollen breast. Catherine Tate, how are you?
I'm good. Well, done well, haven't I?
I love your house.
Well, it's the annex.
Yeah.
I'm not inviting you to the real house.
I mean, you wouldn't think these colours would actually go.
But...
They don't.
We have just sort of come out of a celebrity-induced decade. And in our own little way, we became celebrities, didn't we?
That's the thing. I think, you know, I think in a way celebrity's been downgraded, just the fact that I am a celebrity. Do you know what I mean? It's like a private members club. If they invite you in, then something's gone very wrong.
Yeah, you don't want part of it.
Have you been watching The X Factor?
I'm actually serious, Kate. We watched it, like, we were on stage at the time, so we had to watch it back playback, but then we didn't, like, get into the whole thing. We're kind of like, oh my God, it's so weird that we're, like, sitting here and, like, The X Factor's on.
So did you see The X Factor? Yeah, we did see it. You did see it?
Yeah, we have seen it.
That's all I asked.
Simon Cowell's
Are you a reality TV fan?
I sort of get hooked. It's a
You
bit
get
like
hooked on
crystal
Big
meth.
Brother.
You know, you have one, then you're just hooked.
Yeah.
Big Brother, I loved 1 up until 3. But then towards the end, I mean, because the fun in Big Brother was going, oh, I'm like that. Oh, I do that, don't it? Now, the end, I mean, there are different species, aren't there? I mean, you're like...
Well, there are people who are going on there...
Yeah.
Wanting the fame and kind of playing up to that, aren't they? Which is...
Isn't it nice to know
happens.
that when our stars crumble and fall, that we can still get work for the next 20 years?
Thank
We
God.
can be in that jungle skating on ice. I mean, some of the money they
That's
give
much
us-
more than I earn in a year.
I know, well, I found out how much they get on that jungle, and I was like,
it a lot
I
of
would
money?
not be seen... What? How much? I could put some testicles in my mouth for that.
Oh,
Look at you, you look amazing.
Oh, thank you.
You scrubbed up lovely.
I do, don't I?
Yeah. Would you like a drink, love?
Oh, you got any tips?
I've got it on ice. Oh, what? Lambrini cherry?
Oh, I love Lambrina.
Do you know what? I thought you might like
Bit of
Lambrini.
Lambrina.
Well, I'll have a bit of Lambrini
Oh,
with you. We do
lovely.
have more fun, though, don't we, with it?
Oh, we do us girls, don't we?
Were you always interested in being a chat show host or an interviewer? Or are you...
No, I wanted to be an actor, but I mean, this voice just came, and I just thought, no. And then the first time I was in a stand-up club was me performing on there. I never wanted interested, but I just was telling stories and stuff, and people were laughing.
I mean, I say about binging, people do drink too much, don't they? Has anyone been to A&E on a Friday night? Have you seen the state of the people down there on a Friday night? Oh, my God. I thought someone had bombed Lidl.
So, Chatty Man, was it you thinking I'd quite like to do that on
Well,
my
they
own
asked me to do, to the chat show, and I thought I'll do...
Had you thought about doing that before?
No, I hadn't, but they sort of said, would you do it?
Yeah.
And I went, oh, I won't be any good at chat shows, because I haven't got, like, poker face, and like if they're promoting a film that's shit. And I do that now. I mean, I keep getting the man tells me in my ear, can you smile? Because I went, oh, I saw your film. Do you know what I mean? But, so that was tough. But then I realised, Alan, it's Chatty Man, just sit there chatting. Because, you know, when I go to the garage and there's trouble with me car, I go in there and they must think,
Ka-ching! Yeah, that's it. They said that. So we get screwed. But it's fun.
yes. Sometimes it's fun being screwed, isn't it, Annie? I've seen the tape.
Oh, boy. That's forever. Oh, boy.
I'm making myself laugh.
Yeah.
Cheers.
If a celebrity or anyone feels that they are being genuinely threatened, then the defences go up and they don't want to answer the questions. Somebody like Alan Carr is camp as Christmas. It's all a big joke, and there's no malice behind it because he's so lovable, and the persona that he's put around him is so non-threatening that people feel that they have to answer stuff.
Stop that now! Is he always picking on you?
No.
Sit over there.
I'm seriously.
Sit over there, you naughty little shit.
Are they harder work? Do you find...
But they are hard work because, like, when you've got actresses or, like, you know, comedians like yourself on, you've got a body of work, and if you like it, then, you know, but when you say, oh, when you had a cancer of the finger in 1987...
I don't think 10 years ago all the kind of Heat magazines and the
No.
were out. We suddenly became obsessed with celebrities.
And the
didn't
crap photos of people looking rough would go in the bin. You wouldn't
Yes,
stick them
that's
on the
right,
front and
yeah.
go, my bikini hell.
I
You know what I mean?
But
That's-
they're the ones that now probably shift more issues.
Yeah. I mean, and also, I always get those ones, you know, separated at birth, and there'll be me and that Kim Jong-il, you know, that Korean dictator. It's either him or dinner ladies who've won the lottery. It was someone with glasses going out with a big cheque.
Coming up, I'm going to see how In The Noughties spoofing celebs was taken to a whole new level.
Ginger bastards, you! Don't tell my on! I love them! I love gingers!
We'll take a look at a little sketch show. Am I bothered? And I'll be meeting someone who is quite simply out of this world.
I just want to establish you are nobody. As long as we've established that.
We can then move on, happily.
Hi, I'm George Michael, and don't worry, I'll be reporting that accident later. You know, I've been in this business now for 25 years. Maybe it's a good time to set the record straight on a few things.
I'm Catherine Tate, and tonight I'm looking at the very best comedy of the noughties. This was the decade when a new breed of comedians plunked into our exploding celebrity culture and mocked it mercilessly.
Ooh, better out than in.
Yeah, suppose so.
I think comedians have always tried to push it with celebrities. But what happened in the noughties, I think, was that there were so many more celebrities. There were fields upon fields of celebrities to harvest.
Hey, here's an idea. There was a girl came to see me today about a job. I think her name was Rebecca Lewis. Maybe she's still here. Oh, look, there she is. Hello, David.
We want to see celebrities disrespected. I think what was great about Star Stories was it ran with the celebrity culture. It didn't make any apologies. It just said, it's celebrity culture that counts now, and let's just take the mick out of that.
Oh, selector, and I get a rewind like a cow.
Back in 2002, an unknown 28-year-old comedian called Leigh Francis took celeb bashing to a whole new level when he created Bo Selector.
You see, what happens is, I dream that I'm going to bog, but I don't actually get up and go. So as you can see, I've pissed me bed, look.
It was basically about taking celebrity out of context, really. And wouldn't it be funny if Craig David weed the bed and had a plastic bird sellotape to his hand? Yeah, that'd be funny. And there's no reason behind it at all, but it was just invent a character and then give him a celebrity's name.
Craig David here, and welcome to behind the scenes of me UK tour. That's right, it's just me and our Kez living on the road like a couple of gypsies.
The impersonations on Bo Selector are so crude and broad. I mean, crude as in they're actually nothing like the people. So, you know, Leigh would just take an essence of somebody and then magnify it.
Craig David.
Bo Selector, he stumbled upon what we used to do in the playground anyway. You know, everyone used to try their impressions, and sometimes it was funnier when you didn't get the impression right.
Hello there, that'd be my brothers, Jermaine and Tito, washing the car. Shalom, brothers. Right on, man.
Michael Jackson says that in one song. One song. But now, because of his show, that Shamow is, you know, certainly in the UK, is identified with Michael Jackson.
Ow! Attack that! Oh, Shamoon, motherfucker! Ow! That's how it's really done.
A lot of times forced into doing people that were around at the moment. We used Heat magazine like a Bible. But there's people... But the basics of Bo Selector was, if you could dress as them and recognise that that's them, then we would do them. And with Mel B, she wears leopard skin. It didn't have to look like her or sound like her, even though that's exactly how she speaks.
He's a big ain't he? I bought him when I was doing all right for me, son. How do? I'm Mel B, better known as Scary Spice.
I do think that the worlds of celebrity and comedy merged a little bit more, I think, in the noughties, because then celebrities were queuing up to pillory themselves, so to make it look like they weren't taking themselves that seriously.
What happened? One day something really strange happened.
What was it?
The bear looked out of his window and saw Catalina Guerrero.
And what was she doing? What's she doing?
And smearing honey all over her face.
Oh no! My tail's popped out now!
When we were making Bo Selector, yeah, it got to a level where it's like, just let's see what we can get away with, and we were just laughing like little boys.
Imagine yourself being interviewed and refusing to answer a question from a bear. You know, you would look absurd. So that's how he got away with it.
I got the feeling, all right. I got the feeling. It made me...
I too stepped into the limelight in the noughties. But before I go into all of that, I'm going to fast forward in time and meet a good friend of mine.
You never know, you may just have heard of him.
That's my car! That is my destiny. And I've been ready for this. I packed ages ago just in case. Because I thought, hot weather, cold weather, no weather. It goes anywhere. I've got to be prepared.
You've got a hat on.
Plenty of the hats. I'm ready.
I remember when it was being talked about that you might come and do that first show that you did
Did
with
you
Doctor
think?
Who. Oh no, no,
Something
no.
of a comedy town.
Well, not for a second, because you thought, well, it's. I mean, yes, her show's hugely funny, but she's
Yeah.
clearly an actor.
Oh, good.
I think.
Phew.
Yeah. That's what I tell you now, anyway. I was raging at the time.
Oh, you locked yourself in your trailer,
Yeah,
didn't you,
yeah.
for months?
If we don't get Judi Dench, I'm not coming out.
Off we go then.
Here it is, the TARDIS. Now, why did you? But you trained as an actor, so why have you ended up? Why did
have
you
I?
initially become famous as a comic rather than an actor?
I really thought when I left drama school I would do plays. And I was doing a very small part then at the National because I'd just come out of drama college. And I just thought, oh, this is a bit depressing, isn't it? And I thought the way to perhaps get some control was to do stand-up, because at least I'd be doing stuff in front of people every night, which is a bit like theatre. And then by doing stand-up, I met Leigh Mack. It was back in 2000 at the Edinburgh Festival, performing in his live sketch show, that my comedy fortunes began to change.
You tried hitting her?
What?
I mean, have you tried talking to her?
Yes, of course I've tried talking to her, but you don't seem to want to listen.
Oh, I don't seem to want to listen.
Good, Catherine. You're releasing anger. That's very positive.
You're the one who just wants to sit in front of the television and
Not
just...
too much, love. Now, let me ask you a question. When do you think the problem actually started?
Well, about 6 months ago, I suppose.
OK, good. What happened?
Well, you started to change, started getting distrustful, started getting jealous.
In 1998, I did my first solo stand-up show at Edinburgh and hated it. Hated every minute of it and didn't enjoy it, wasn't getting the audiences. And I remember standing on the stage one night thinking, if I come back here next year, I want someone stood next to me so that if it's not going well to 7 people, I can look to my right and we can enjoy the moment together of how bad it's going. That's where Catherine Tate fitted in. So I met Catherine and we did a sketch show together with a guy called Dan Antopolsky. Don't come crying to me when she sat on top of the photocopy at work getting fingered by a grubby little office junior. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I'm not standing for this.
Yeah, you have to meet your lover, boy. They're all slags, mate.
Our sketch show got nominated for the Perrier Award that year, but unfortunately for us, we were up against some pretty stiff competition. Sean Locke was there, so too was Rich Hall, Richard Ayoade and Garth Marenghi. It's fantastic to be on that roll call, you know, with all those people.
Yeah. We
It's
thought,
lovely.
when we got nominated, we thought this was a really important award, but when we found out we hadn't won, we thought, sod this, it's not worth the thing it's written.
Out in a snowboarding.
No, we didn't win. That honour went to Rich Hall.
And when she died, she requested to be buried in a cardboard coffin to save trees. Barbara Cartland, woman sold 650 million books, suddenly decides she wants to save a sapling. You know, I'd rather be the one tree that buried her sorry ass than the 650 million that died so she could write a lot of prairie spinster porn where nobody ever got laid.
The first time I saw Catherine Tate, I thought she was very young and raw, but with tremendous potential. You can see that in comedians when they're starting out. It's very easy to look at someone and say, well, if they just develop that part and that part and that part, then they'll be great. And I remember thinking that about Catherine.
I'm now joined by the winning jockey, Dermot.
In 2002, a couple of years after Edinburgh, I landed a part in a sitcom with one of my all-time comedy heroes, Dawn French. I was to play the part of Dawn's lesbian lover, running a post office together in a small remote village in Cornwall.
Sex with a man. Sex with a man. Funny old business.
It's been a long time for me.
Mm.
There's lots of hair, isn't there?
hair everywhere.
She was just absolutely hilarious to be around, and in a weird way, it was a bit like recapturing a very early relationship with Jennifer all over again.
Still, 6'1" in his pants, Craig. Owned his own quarry.
Yeah, sleep now. It was the most exciting thing that had ever happened to me, to hear that I'd got a sitcom with Dawn French. I couldn't believe it. Do you know what I mean? I just couldn't believe it. I remember being around someone's house and they trailered Wild West, and I was like, my heart was like pounding. And it was this shot of me and Dawn in bed together, and this woman sitting next to me, she went, "Oh, I love these two, don't you?" And I remember thinking, oh my God, oh my God. She went, "French and Saunders, I mean, they're one of my favourites."
Most repulsive thing was that we were lesbian lovers in that. So there was some snogging. And again, I have snogged Jennifer in the past, and so those are my two lesbian lovers.
In 2004, I was asked to develop some of the characters I had featured in my Edinburgh show. Needless to say, I accepted, and the result was my very own sketch show on BBC Two.
1 minute she's in my Edinburgh show to 20 people, and the next minute she's got her own telly show, you know, and not only her own telly show, but a really massive telly show. So now she's in films, and yeah, no, it's great. She's brilliant, you know. She's just very funny, you know, and she's absolute pain in the arse, obviously, to work with, but you know.
It's just not fair.
I know, Sandra, but at the end of the day, there will always be those who just can't bring themselves to accept people who are.
You can say it, you know.
Ginger.
I remember at the time, your show first coming out, I remember people going, "Who?
Yeah.
Your show?"
Exactly.
I mean, thank goodness it happened, but it wasn't like you were introduced with a bit on somebody else's show.
No.
Just like, here's your own show, start to finish. Particularly a woman.
Yeah.
It did seem quite...
Well, it was...
quite a punt from the BBC.
Very much so.
I just want to establish you were nobody. As long as we've established that.
We can then move on, happily. Come on, which swear word did everyone in this office collectively find the most offensive?
I haven't a clue.
Just take a bloody guess. Look, there's one already.
I'm really no good at this sort of thing.
Just a bit of fun. Guess. Come on.
Titwank.
Titwank. Titwank. When have you ever heard anyone in this office say titwank?
I said I didn't know.
The fundamental thing about Catherine Tate is she's a brilliant actress. And what I love about watching her do comedies is the same as I would love about watching her do a straight one. It's a total immersion in the character.
She combined the two. She's a brilliant character actress, and she found characters, you know, that really resonated, I think, with the public.
And the little old lady, I was obsessed with the voice she got for that little old lady, trying to get that, "Oh, you don't know nothing." It's just brilliant. You come and see me, sweetheart. Couldn't do it, but, you know, she absolutely nailed it.
Everyone knows your mother. I remember when she got barred out of Tesco's when they caught a pin in the deep freeze. Off her fucking nut she was.
Nan Taylor was the foul-mouthed grandmother from London, and who, contrary to popular belief, wasn't based on my own nan.
So I'll be on my way.
No, you won't, son. Oh, no. No, you'll take something for your trouble.
Now we've been through this. No, I won't take your money.
Now, be a good boy.
It's only a fuse.
That's not the point. There's £50.
Look, I can't take it.
Now, you take it and go and treat your mother to a nice new hat.
Well, thank you, Mrs. Taylor. You look after yourself.
Seeing a sweary old woman is a step forward, but crucially, it's very, very real, because they exist. It's just that we've not seen it before.
What a fucking liberty! £50? £50? He weren't here 5 minutes! Greedy little bastard!
Man, you offered it to him.
He nearly took me fucking hand off!
It was a very formulaic sketch, really. Somebody would turn up who she was ever so nice about, and as soon as they left the room, she'd turn.
And a lot of good you were and all. Stood there worried about what side your hair's parted while I'm getting turned over by a man whose mother eats her own shit.
There was always that wonderful shock. Because we do it in front of an audience, you see the shock. But then the enjoyment straight away after, from the audience.
What a fucking liberty.
Coming up, we'll see what happens when Peter Kay takes on the X Factor.
Now I have something.
Plus, I'll be meeting one half of Britain's most outrageous Noughties double act.
Hello? I'm just in the middle of something at the moment. Can I call you back? OK. Bye-bye.
Did you see that thing on last night about plastic surgery?
Did you see it though? Oh my God, that was well bad. I thought I was going to be sick of something. Did you see it though?
The Noughties was the decade when comedy reflected some darker aspects of British culture.
Am I bothered?
The ever-widening social divide gave rise to the terms chav and hoodie. In Noughties' broken Britain, Asbos had become a badge of honour. Things looked bleak, and one comedy sketch show perfectly nailed the funny side of our increasingly divided nation.
Now, about this essay. Yeah, I have one or two problems with it.
Teenage chavvy mums, unconvincing transvestites, and the only gay in the village. Who would have thought 10 years ago that would have been a recipe for a prime-time sketch show, with its catchphrases resounding from pubs to playgrounds?
What was Lord Kitchener's role in World War One? No, but yeah. In World War One or something, there was this bloke, right, called Kitchen or something, or nothing, who done this thing, but he ain't even not done it, so shut up.
In my head, Little Britain kind of defines the noughties. And I think Little Britain was... That was when, you know, the envelope was pushed, torn, stamped on, eaten and shat out.
Anyway, Kathy reckons she saw Candice getting off with Tozer, yeah. In Foot Locker, but anyway, don't listen to her because she's got one tit bigger than the other. Vicky, this simply won't do.
Why? Is there a problem with spelling?
Little Britain was obviously a massive, not only success, it was a phenomenon, wasn't it? It was just... I mean, it's probably difficult for you to comment on it because you were inside it, but it was such
well, I did, because my mum would tell me. She'd say, you know, Sue, who I do brownies with, well, her daughter has got a friend at school, and her brother really, really likes Little Britain.
I like him very much.
Push me.
You evil Pole.
We kind of set up the idea of the show as an overview. It felt like, yeah, it was right, we would have gay people, we'd have straight people, we'd have men, women, people of different, you know, genders, nationalities, sexualities. Vicky Pollard at first started off as a sketch about, you know, someone who couldn't string a sentence together. Unlike me now. And then it became, you know, afterwards, it became like, oh, this character is, you know, you'd read a Richard Littlejohn piece in the Daily Mail and suddenly he's seeing this character as, you know, some kind of archetype of broken Britain. But of course you can't think, let's try and write a character that sums up broken Britain. I mean, it's just not a way you could approach something.
No, it's certainly not comedy.
No. And so it was only afterwards that those things sort of seem more relevant.
In a way, you can be kind of perceived to be more sort of influential than you really are, or really started out to be.
I think definitely, and we found in Little Britain it's still a phrase that's sometimes used and sort of to sum up things that are wrong with the country.
Bonjour la classe!
Funnily enough, my show and Little Britain came out about the same time, and in a way both Vicky Pollard and Lauren became unwitting poster girls for Broken Britain. So it's May. When we were writing the Am I Bothered character, I had never seen
No,
Vicky
I'm
Pollard.
sure, no.
And then, because originally...
As you say, yeah.
yes, as I
As you claim in court. No, of course, you know, and actually, I suppose we did reflect the times in some ways in our work. Again, and the character of Daffod as well, he's like post-gay liberation.
Yeah.
You know, like, you couldn't have done that character in Are You Being Served?
Yeah.
Because at that time, you know, gay men had a much different experience of life.
Yeah.
Whereas we were sort of playing on the idea that the only person who had a problem with Daffod being gay was actually Daffod.
Oh, I wish there were more things for gay people to do around here. It's so lonely being the only gay in the village.
What you on about? There's loads of things to do. You just got to look in the local paper. Now, lesbians, bisexuals, transgender... Oh, there we are. Gay section. Oh, there you go. There's a gay night on Thursdays at the BJ in the Bear pub in Aberfan.
Oh, no, I couldn't possibly get over to Aberfan.
Well, it's only half a mile away.
No, the stone path is quite treacherous.
I think when people think, oh, you can't deal with that subject in comedy, it's very dangerous, because I think, or you can't make comedy, you know, jokes about this group of people or that group of people. It's almost like, oh, well, here's a list of things you can make jokes about, here's a list of things you can't. And that's very problematic, because then, in a way, comedy won't have much value, because it can only exist in these spheres, you know. You wouldn't say that about drama. You wouldn't go, well, you can't make drama about this subject.
Yeah.
I think people mistakenly sometimes think that comedy is laughing at something.
Yeah.
Whereas I think often it, you know, the best comedy is laughing with something.
Yeah.
What on earth are you insinuating?
I'm sorry, Derek. I didn't mean to speak out of turn. I just always assumed you were gay.
Gay, dear? Who dear? Me, dear? No, dear. Just because I live with my mother and haven't found the right girl yet, you assume I take it up the arse. How very dare you?
I think people think that you sit down and you write a catchphrase, which you can't, can you? Because you don't know... Well, that's what I mean, I would never have thought anyone would have picked up on things I was saying.
Because we felt sometimes that the catchphrases were like placeholders for the identity of the character.
Yeah.
So they were always integral to the sketches. But people, again, and they use that thing against you, catchphrase comedy, but it's like, yeah, Laurel and Hardy had catchphrases. Yeah. Morecambe Wise had catchphrases. The catchphrases of Monty Python, The Simpsons. I mean, I don't necessarily see it as a bad thing. I suppose... You know, it's the sort of... It's when the catchphrase becomes detached from the sketch.
I think that's right.
And it feels like all you'd need to do is turn up and go, am I bothered? And people would laugh. Yeah. And I suppose...
Is that not going to work if I do that on tour, then? Because that's...
Well, no, it would. That's the thing. But I suppose it's people see it as somehow...
It's easy, too easy.
Yeah,
too simple,
yeah, but it's not easy to come up with one phrase that the public are going to remember. That's quite hard.
Yeah.
New, but yeah, but new, but yeah, but new. I done actually, and Michelle's well going to get beatings now for saying that.
One of the things that really marks out Little Britain is the level of performance in them, which far outstrips the level of performance in almost any other sketch shows that I can think of, anyway. Just the sheer technical ability of those people is quite astonishing.
Don't worry, it's going anyway, you pair of total lesbian spackers. And if I see either of you again, you're both dead.
By the mid-noughties, comedy was cheeky and confident, ruthlessly poking fun at every aspect of the world around us. And when Simon Cowell created the biggest talent show of the decade, comedy was brave enough to take him on too.
And you won't be just a yes man, will you, Louis?
Yes, of course I will. I mean, no, I won't. So, yes, I will. Oh, blimey. What is it you wants me to say again?
And my next signing was even better. Hi, Sharon. Thanks for doing the show.
Thanks for asking me and also paying me an absolute fortune, plus insisting ITV give me my own shit-chat show.
Think nothing of it.
But despite Star Stories send-ups, millions tuned in and still do to what was always a very emotional finale.
Some people wait a lifetime for a
I love X Factor, especially the auditions. I'm a sucker for the manipulation involved, but I felt it was a good step. The interactivity that you felt, the involvement, you still felt that you could affect the programme.
Some people wait a lifetime for a moment like this.
When you have more people voting for the outcome of the X Factor than a general election, you're kind of in trouble, and comedy, satire particularly, is always going to seek to reflect the dominant force in society.
I'm much, much richer than you. I've produced hit records, hit TV shows, and I've become the most powerful man in the world.
But it wasn't just Kevin Bishop having a pop. Peter Kay parodied a whole world of reality with Britain's Got the Pop Factor and possibly a new Celebrity Jesus Christ soap star, superstar Strictly on Ice.
Geraldine!
I think what's interesting now is that comedians are taking on like a whole format to lampoon now. So you've got Peter Kay doing the X Factor, and so now comedians, it seems, are kind of taking the entire kind of framework of an established TV format and then just kind of working within it and making it their own. And I think, you know, that's quite an interesting direction to take.
Coming up, I'll be looking at some other great noughties comedy spoofs.
You might well drive off, you lousy wop! Go on!
The rise of the fly-on-the-wall mockumentary.
Dawn Tinsley, receptionist.
What? Done this for ages, haven't you?
Yeah.
I'd say, at one time or another, every bloke in the office is working up at the crack of dawn.
What? Plus, Rob Brydon will be telling me about the darker side of noughties comedy.
You become the character, and it was only when I watched it months later, I went, God, yeah, I can see why people say this is a tough watch.
I don't give shitty jobs. If a good man comes to me and says, thank you, David, for the opportunity and continued support in the work-related arena, but I've done that, I want to better myself, I want to move on, then I can make that dream come true too, AKA for you.
Now, if I had to choose one show from the decade that was my absolute favourite, then it would be The Office. It epitomised the style of comedy that became huge in the noughties. Shot in a fly-on-the-wall documentary style, it was exquisitely funny. At times uncomfortable viewing and painfully real.
Lovely Dawn Tinsley, receptionist.
What? Done this for ages, haven't you?
Yeah.
I'd say, at one time or another, every bloke in the office is working up at the crack of dawn.
What?
Can I have the mail, please?
Just facts.
The realism that came through in the noughties, it had been around, and that sort of stuff had been around for quite a long time. But I think I think maybe the time had come for the downplayed thing, the realistic thing. But maybe it's just because those things were really, really good.
Oh, no, trouble. Sanj. Just Sanj, this is Ricky. Hello, mate.
Nice to see you, mate.
This guy does the best Ali G impersonation. I can't do it. Go on.
I don't. I think there's someone else.
Sorry, no, it's not you, it's the other one.
The other what?
Packy. Oh. That's racist.
The comedy of realism from the noughties actually started with docu-soaps. You know, that was the kicking off point, because there would have been no Office, or I don't think there would have been any comedy of realism before we saw realism on TV.
The docu-soap, which crashed onto our screens at the end of the 90s, put realism on TV like nothing before. One of the biggest hits was Driving School, which followed hot-headed cleaner Maureen Rees learning to drive.
I'm not arguing. I'm keeping my cool as much as I can. I am telling you, read my lips. Read my lips. And you're getting me heads up. And you're sat there like Jim. You're sat there like Jim. You're gonna listen then? I'm listening!
And there was BBC's Paddington Green, which followed a whole community going around their daily business. At the time, it really was unmissable. Honest.
Up the road, bus conductor Danny is starting his day with a different type of stress. He's just come on shift, and he's already in trouble with his manager. not for the first time.
These real-life fly-on-the-wall docs inspired a BBC comedy series called People Like Us.
Meanwhile, back at the station, Jane is taking an accident report from a motorist who has been involved in a minor road traffic crash incident.
Using relatively unknown actors, they were able to recreate the feel of a real-life documentary while mercilessly ridiculing the format.
Right, and are you able to estimate your speed?
Yeah, I've got a speedometer.
Right, so what speed would you say you were going at the time of the accident?
What time was that?
No, we've already been through that. You said it was about 7:30?
Yeah, but he just stopped in front of me.
Yes. So at what speed would you say you were going at the time of the accident?
When I hit him?
Yeah.
Not.
Okay.
People Like Us, which is, I think, perhaps the most underrated television comedy of all time. It's brilliant. It's written by the genius John Morton. And it's the show that set up the kind of spoof documentary that became quite well used throughout the noughties.
So I'm putting them up on here to see if a pattern emerges.
And is there a pattern emerging?
Yeah, looks like it. I think it's a rabbit.
The particular scene in the policeman episode I love is when one of them, because they're worried that they're running out of paper, has somebody from a police station down the road fax them some more. That's a great joke. And like all of the great jokes, he's done completely deadpan.
What? Well, it's just that... Are all those pages blank?
Yeah, they are.
Right, so, I mean...
Well, what it is we're running very low on fax paper, which obviously we can't afford to run out, so what I've done is phoned up a colleague over at Kettering, and they're faxing me over a whole load of spare paper.
Right.
It's quite clever, really.
In the same year, Peter Kay, who at the start of the noughties was an unknown comedian from Bolton, took these mock-you-soaps one step further, creating hilarious characters for his first TV series called That Peter Kay Thing.
And when Softy discovers Signor Whippy trading on his patch,
Hey, where have they got those from?
the situation hots up dramatically.
Lousy bastard! He's dead! The lousy bastard! I'd send him a son of an here and have him! Ah, you might well drive off, you lousy wop! Go on! I've got you now! Just slow down a bit. Get the balls, I'm in hot pursuit here!
I was in one of his spoofs, which saw Peter playing a character called Leonard, Britain's oldest paperboy.
Hiya, Valerie. Are you all right? I'm fine. Look at that, eh? When that you lie, you're going to explode. Hey, when's that due?
No, is everything all right for you?
No, I'm stressing like a pregnant nun. It's warm in here, isn't it? I'm roasted, eh? You know. Hey, it's Ruth here. You all right? Hey, look at this. It's like treasure on.
While Peter's comic creations were larger than life, it was David Brent from The Office who struck the biggest chord with TV viewers, mainly because he was so real, people couldn't actually believe he wasn't.
I hear lots of people saying that about The Office, that they thought that it was real to begin with, and that's a nice compliment because that's what we were trying to do. You could say, well, how would you think David Brent was real? Well, because there are people like that, and that's why I think the show worked. So I'm not surprised, and I don't think people that thought The Office was real to begin with are stupid, you know, because I get why they did think that.
Royal family, yeah. Christmas Day. Had lunch. Sitting down. Camilla goes, let's play a game, right? Let's play 20 questions. I'll think of something, and you've got to guess what I'm thinking of. And what she's thinking of is a black man's cock, right? So Charles goes, is it big in the bread bin? She goes, yes. Right? Philip goes, could I put it in my mouth? She goes, yes. So the Queen goes, is it a black... Oh, yeah. Sorry, were you telling a joke? No, that was it. What did the Queen say?
Why it's great comedy is because it addresses taboos. And it addresses status quo. We'd reached a place where we all agreed that we were non-sexist, non-racist, and we were all lovely people. And David Brent comes along and he challenges that, and how dare you laugh at that? Are you laughing at me, or are you laughing at the attitude that was prevalent in the 70s that I've brought back ironically, sorry about that, I brought back ironically, but you still seem to laugh. So it's very interesting, very awkward.
I can't believe that you think the way to welcome people is by telling racist jokes.
Wrong. No way. But he'd heard it before, right? He thought it was funny, so I don't know why he's complaining now.
It was a woman.
I assumed it was the new guy.
With naturalism in comedy, you were able to slow things down. And I think when a situation in life is going badly, what we do is tend not to dwell on it. But I think with The Office, what we did was just let the camera play, just let it roll and let it zoom in on a man's pain. And I think that's why it was quite uncomfortable to watch sometimes.
Okay, well, again, thanks very much, David. Don't make me redundant. Please. Look, David, I've changed my mind. I don't want redundancy. I don't want that. I haven't signed anything, so...
Well, David, unfortunately, it's not really up to you.
No, okay, then.
Sorry.
All right, then. Well, I'm asking. Okay? Please don't make me redundant.
But if you thought The Office made for uncomfortable viewing, then hold on just a second, because I'm about to meet Rob Brydon, the master of uncomfortable comedy.
My first pickup, please. I'll just drive around. 4-1.
Rob first made his mark in 2000 with Marion and Jeff, which tells the story of hapless taxi driver Keith Barrett coming to terms with his divorce from his wife Marion and her new relationship with a bloke called Jeff.
Actually, Marion and Jeff come up to London occasionally. They'll bring the kids up, go and see a show. They went to see Blood Brothers. Had a wonderful time by all accounts. Didn't manage to call in on me, never mind.
And was Marion and Jeff very difficult to get commissioned?
Yes, it came about because I was shuffling around as an actor, not really getting beyond the first rung of the ladder. I just couldn't get anywhere. I'd had this character of Keith Barrett for a long time. I used to do him on the radio and stuff, you know. So, went out, shot 4 characters. One of them was Keith. Rented an edit suite, dubbed it, did everything, packaged it up, sent about 30 big VHSs out, and they pretty much all came back thudding onto the doormat in the morning.
Great news, it's arrived, from the boys. A picture. I mean, Reese will have done it, but you can see Alan's hand in it. Take a look at this. Look at that. Daddy, that's me. There I am. Long legs, thank you. Surrounded by guns, look, 1, 2, 3, 4, and in a hail of bullets, my head's been blown off. Oh, I think that's how they see me. Bit of an action hero.
I didn't realise how much pathos there was in it while we were doing it. I didn't realise, because you become the character, and I sort of saw things through his eyes.
Yeah.
And it was only when I watched it months later, I went, God, yeah, I can see why people say this is a tough watch.
Yeah. Next, Rob teamed up with Julia Davis to write Human Remains, another horrifyingly realistic mockumentary which featured 6 couples at various stages of their relationships.
The thing is, before sex for me had been a function, you know, and I was never one to stay around with a lady afterwards, you know. I was very much the splash and dash. But this first night, I mean, it was a revelation.
It was Wednesday.
It was wonderful, you know, and it was more, you know, I was saying it was more than the physical.
Well, for you, it was spiritual, wasn't it?
Yeah. You know, I was still experimenting with the dosage, so...
And what was your kind of point of reference for that? Because I can't think of anything myself that is like Human Remains.
The first day of writing Human Remains was a disaster. We met in a club called Black's, and we had a pad and a pen, and it was terrible.
Yeah.
We just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
So the next day we met, and I brought my video camera, and all we did, we just sat there, put the camera on, and we didn't say what we were going to do, we just started talking. And that's how the characters came.
So often we hear of people visiting the place they were born. All I'm doing is going back even purer than that thought. Where was one conceived? Bang! Bang! It happened. Bang! An enormous bang! And an egg and a sperm. That special sperm that had my name written on it. And that wondrous egg that my mother had fostered. Bang!
We would then transcribe those, get the transcription sent back, go through them with markers, marking out good stuff. But, I mean, you know, amazing stuff comes from this improvisation.
Yeah.
Storylines,
Yeah.
well, everything
Yeah.
comes from it.
Yeah.
Getting undressed was a bit... She used to get
quite self-conscious. They had the size of my penis because it was a lot smaller than she was used to. You know.
It's like when I went through the Cavaliers for the Punto, though. It was a little bit pokey, but it did the job. I could park it round the back and never knew it was there.
So, painfully awkward, real character comedy was a phenomenon of the noughties. But these were also the years when something incredible was happening in theatres around Britain. After what seemed like years in the comedy wilderness, stand-up was making a massive comeback.
Man has explored deep space, even landed on the moon. But if your wife goes, yeah, send me back, you go, right, well, you fucking get out.
This massive resurgence of live comedy was kick-started with the BBC's Friday night stand-up extravaganza, Live at the Apollo.
I've probably had 10 years of TV people saying stand-up doesn't work on telly. You know, they would literally, you know, that was the whole thing. You go, why don't you put stand-up on, it doesn't work on telly? And then all of a sudden, Live at the Apollo comes along, and people went, blimey, stand-up works on telly. And of course it does, because you've got, you know, you've got people doing a decent set, and it's filmed the way it should be filmed.
It's a bit like gluing meat to your face. You know? It's probably not really helping that, is it? What? No, you glue meat to your face, people think you're mental, don't they? Think you're an absolute nutter, you glue meat to your face, you know. You get the meat there, like, and think, lovely bit of meat there, stick it on, glue it up nice, put it on the face. Everyone's a winner, fantastic.
TV commissioners have been looking for different things because it's all about the new, and what's happened is traditional old school stand-up is suddenly new.
As more and more people tuned in, ticket sales for live acts began to rise, and before long, comedians were shifting tickets by the barrel load.
Doesn't get any better than this, and look at that beautiful British pint. Thank God you're here, pal. Hey, those are the rules today. Pint for the fella, glass of white wine, fruit-based drink for the lady. Those are the rules, and if we didn't have rules, where would we be? That's right. Where would we be? If we had too many rules, where would we be? Germany. Right.
Speaking of summer working comedy, when comedy's doing well, it's good for everybody. And people, you know, there are people who will grumble about the certain strands doing well. It's all good. And, you know, and if you do something different to it, hooray, it's a contrast.
Leigh Evans broke Noughties box office records by becoming the first solo act to perform in front of 10,000 people. And in 2008, tickets for his big show at London's O2 sold out in just 60 minutes, making it the UK's fastest-selling comedy gig ever.
Well, I am shitting my pants. Fucking hell, this is huge. My God, last time I was next to a dome this big, I was fucking breastfeeding.
Leigh live is like no one else live. You know, you can see even someone as brilliant as Eddie Izzard, and you can say, yeah, he's a sort of mix of this one and this one, you know, he's a bit like that person. But Leigh Evans is a unique experience.
Me and my missus, we was going out the other day, we're standing in the hallway, I said, it's all right, love, I'll take the rubbish out tomorrow. She went, fuck off, that's me bag.
I just think there's an appetite now for comedians again, whereas it just went out of vogue. I don't know why. Stand-up has never been as big as it is now, you know.
You've been a lovely audience, and before I leave you tonight, I'd just like to leave you with some words of advice that my father once gave me. He said, son, always remember, wherever you go, you can fool some of the people all of the time, and all of the people some of the time, but you can't fool some of the people all of the time. And I say, get it right, for fuck's sake, Dad. And he said, fuck off, you're adopted anyway. Thank you very much.
Coming up, I'll be looking at the greatest political satires of the noughties.
Enough. Fucking enough. You need to learn to shut your fucking cave, right?
Plus, I'll be meeting a comedy cult hero who dared to buck the noughties trend of realism in favour of the weird and wacky.
You failed to take into account my mirror balls. Look at them shine. Look at them shine.
Do you get called surreal? Yeah. Yes.
Surreal.
surreal, like a sort of, offbeat, quirky.
What is your great strategy for dealing with this? Come on, I mean, I'm fucking all ears. I'm fucking Andrew Marr here.
In 2005, a revolutionary political satire burst onto our screens, which was inspired by the inner workings of our government.
Right, well, now we've got another fucking adjective to add to fucking smug and glum, haven't we? Fucking retarded!
It was timely, smart and grittily real, because 9/11, the war on terror and the hunt for those elusive weapons of mass destruction heralded a period of shameless Labour spin in the face of national outrage.
The noughties went from, yay, Tony Blair, things can only get better, to real gut-wrenching disappointment and anger. So there's a real curve of,
The thick of it was a yes minister for a new generation, spoofing the spin doctors and mocking a political machine out of control. Undoubtedly, the star of the show was Malcolm Tucker, played by Peter Capaldi, who regularly used profanity and the threat of violence to bring ministers into line.
Not to worry, you've sent fucking Ollie over there to deal with it. Fucking Ollie! He's a fucking knitted scarf, that twat! He's a fucking balaclava!
The thick of it exploded out of that anger that people felt about spin and about deceit. The spin's one thing and about deceit. So if you compare it to the gentleness of Yes Minister and Yes Prime Minister from earlier decades, here you had rage. You had the best swearing ever on television, but also swearing that, from what we hear, is absolutely authentic.
Malcolm, this is really crossing the line.
Don't start with the moral objections, you fucking Blue Peter badge wearing ponce. Go and make a contribution to fucking Amnesty International. Go and buy a goat that whole village can fuck. But you are doing this for me.
Malcolm, you're bullying me, and, you know, I don't know why you're bullying me.
How dare you? How dare you? Don't you ever call me a bully. I'm so much worse than that.
Comedy does reflect the times to an extent. When we made The Thick of It first in 2005, that was an election year, and everybody knew that Labour would get in. It was 2 years or so after the Iraq war had begun, and aside from that massive thing, nobody really had any interest in politics. So when we began doing The Thick of It, it was all about the minutiae of minor departments, sort of day-to-day working. And as we've gone on, people have become more and more and more interested in politics, and the show has had to reflect that fact.
I think what's clever about Thick of It is it's not compromising at all. It's not talking down to anybody. It's very fast. It's very well informed, and if you're watching it, you just have to keep up with it. You said yourself that if he sacks me after a week, it looks like he's fucked up.
Yeah, but that was before, when your only problem was a fucking shit pun in a newspaper and a face like Doc Cotton licking piss off a nettle.
The Thick of It had a swearing consultant. I think it's the first programme that actually had a swearing consultant, Ian Martin, who then went on to write episodes himself. But if I understand correctly, they would send scripts off to Ian, who would then swear it up.
And I just wanted to check that neither of you would be terribly offended by that.
I could actually do without the theatrics, I think, Malcolm.
Enough. E-fucking enough. You need to learn to shut your fucking cave, right?
There is no doubt to me that the English language is at its most poetic in the sweariness of Thick of It.
The best bit of swearing from The Thick of It never made it to The Thick of It, and absolutely won't make it to this programme, and it's called Tucker's Law. And Malcolm Tucker says, if some can fuck something up, that will pick the worst fucking time to fuck it up, because that a. And then he says, I've got that on a tea towel somewhere. And it's brilliant. It's just it's an astonishing piece of swearing.
Once it's printed, I promise I'll come back to you for a reaction quote. How's that?
Darling, I wouldn't fucking piss on you if you were fucking allergic to piss, right? On you go.
Quite
walk the walk, fuck right off, go on.
So, The Thick of It used the same gritty realism that began with shows like The Office. Brilliant, yes. Easy to watch, not always. Surely it was time to have some fun again. Cue the IT Crowd, a sitcom about an IT department.
The IT crowd is extremely traditional in one sense, but yet its subject matter, the world of IT, probably wouldn't have worked 10 or 15 years ago because there was no world of IT.
Hello, IT? Have you tried turning it off and on again? Oh, okay, well, the button on the side, is it glowing? Yeah, you need to turn it on.
As a fulcrum of a thought, I think people understand what is behind the IT crowd, which is this. You're best friends with the IT guy when you need your computer fixed. And when you bump into them by the coffee machine, you cannot wait to get away. You know, and it is that rather sort of crude observation that I think lies at the heart of the show and allows people a way into it.
How can you two live like this?
How can you two...
Don't Google the question marks! What are you talking about?
It's so disgusting in here. I mean, I know nobody comes down here, but it doesn't mean you have to live like animals, you know. I mean, for starters, you could clean that window and then you'd have a bit of light in here.
What window?
That one up there.
Yeah, that's not a window.
Yes, it is. Get it clean, you'll have some light in here.
I think that we have plenty of light.
The interesting thing about IT Crowd is that it just says, this is a sitcom, in front of a studio audience, people are laughing. How do you feel about that? We don't care. It's broad, it's very confident about being a comedy.
Oh, dear me.
What are you laughing at?
This flipping circuit board, Jen. Some chump has run the data lines right through the power supply. Amateur hour. I've got tears in my eyes.
Especially having just done The Office, which was all about, you know, making real life come to the comedy, you know, absolutely getting those observations and those references perfect. It was really quite liberating to do the IT crowd because it's so silly. You know, it's so silly, silly, silly. And that was a really lovely contrast, I think, from what I'd just done before.
Nice hat.
Thanks.
But if it's silly comedy you wanted, then surely the silliest comedy of the noughties was The Mighty Boosh.
Speak English, fool.
Oh, sorry.
Your face is confusing enough.
All right.
The Mighty Boosh started life at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. Noel Fielding and Julian Barrett had created a crazy world which confused and amazed audiences in equal measure. It was an instant hit, and in 1999 they won the Perrier Newcomer Award.
I saw Arctic Boosh at midnight in this basement bar sort of thing, and it blew my mind apart. It was essentially, wow, you can do whatever you want as long as it's funny.
It's kind of a play, but from people that can't act, know nothing about building props, don't have any drama experience at all. So it's like little children dressing up at Christmas, putting on a silly little play in the front room. It's like that. That's how we see it.
Edinburgh,
Yeah.
big springboard. or a slow springboard.
No, it was fast for us. We were quite... we started off really quick.
Yeah, you
then
did.
We went off the board.
That's what I mean. Massive springboard in terms of Edinburgh.
We did an Edinburgh show together, me and Julian. We were both doing stand-up, and we met and said, should we do a show together? Let's do half an hour stand-up each, rather than do an hour.
Yeah.
But we didn't. We just got, after day one, we started writing weird songs and poems and dressing up and making costumes out of curtains. We weren't really expecting anyone to come.
Right.
And it all happened quite quickly. We started getting 5-star reviews, and then we won.
Yeah.
We were like, what? Okay.
Yeah.
And then that was it. We were strapped in from then on. At the first, I thought, this is easy.
Yeah.
What's the fuss all about?
Yeah.
Yeah, then we had a bit of a couple of years in the wilderness.
Come with us now on a journey through time and space to the world.
Finally, after 5 years of touring and building up a cult following, The Mighty Boosh made its debut on BBC Three in 2004.
Is this Limbo? Who are you? I've got to find my mate Howard. Tall, moustache.
Ah, you just missed him, mate. I just taken him a Monkey Hill.
I've got to get there. Can you take me there?
Now television audiences could enjoy the adventures of Vince Noir and Howard Moon. Those two reluctant friends who went on spectacular adventures together in search of fame and fortune.
We were just kind of interested in stories, like
Yeah. Sinbad
and stuff, and like those big adventures and good and evil. I mean, Star Wars did it probably the best, but we were always sort of trying to have a goodie, you know, someone that would help you.
Yeah.
So I'd in the bush, it's quite archetypal. I'd usually meet a goodie, help him, and then he would come back and help us later on. There'd be a baddie in it, there'd be a quest to get something.
It must have surprised them. I mean, it's quite unusual or surprising now that it actually got commissioned, because there was nothing.
I wouldn't have commissioned.
But you know what I mean? It's not like they go, well, look at the success of this, therefore you could say, look at the success of the royal family, let's go with The Office, or things like that.
The kids were into it, but we didn't know, because we were just doing telly. It wasn't until we went on tour, and it was massive when we went on tour, that we realised, and people dressing up as our characters, and the DVD sold really well, but we didn't know from telly, because the ratings were never that good.
Yeah, but that's the thing about TV ratings, isn't it? A low TV rating is maybe 2 million, but if you think about that in raw numbers, if 2 million people, even if half of that came to see a live show, that's an extraordinary amount of people, an extraordinary amount of DVDs to sell, isn't it?
It's amazing,
Howard Moon's Journal, Day 4. Many men have searched for the egg of Mantumbi. Many have failed. One man shall succeed, and I, Howard Moon, shall be that man.
Not doing that. They're not an overnight success. Those boys have been plugging away doing what they do for years, like absolute years, and then they get their TV show because they built up an audience. They found people who like that sort of thing, and then, you know, we were lucky enough that a TV executive said yes.
It's that specific thing with comedy. You love to feel like you've discovered it, I think, with comedy. You love to feel that it's for you, that it's your secret. And I think the Bush had that kind of word-of-mouth thing. And it's, again, quite weird in places. And I think people thought, isn't it great to live in a country where something like this can get on television?
Ice flow, nowhere to go. Ice flow, nowhere to go. Lost in the blinding whiteness of the tundra. Check him out. They call him the True. Arms in short, then with the claw. I'm little Johnny Frostbite, moving around, freezing you up, freezing you down like an ice.
I think our appeal was a bit like a band, you know, people that liked us liked music, and we did a lot of music in the show, and we never really felt like comedians as much, or actors. We sort of, June was in a band, I was in a band, and I did art, and he was sort of doing the music, and so it was more like, I don't know, it was like a weird show that we just thought our mates would like.
Have you seen things since your show that you have clearly influenced? Do you get people say, oh, will you watch this?
I think a lot of young comedians now, when I go and see stand-up and stuff, and when I went to Edinburgh, there was tons of young people who were like, oh, it's a bit like the Bush or Concords. It was like the two names of young, cool comics. Okay,
that's
we
brilliant,
like the Concords, we like the Bush, which it's quite, it's amazing. I mean,
at the same time, you're not quite ready to be the old Bush.
That's it now, isn't it?
What do you mean they're the new Bush?
That's the end, isn't it? Shit. How old am I?
Next up, in my look at the greatest comedies of the noughties, I'll see how the good old practical joke was reinvented for a new generation.
Hello! What? No, I'm in an internet cafe!
And how a little-known TV reporter made it all the way from Kazakhstan to Hollywood.
I want her to be blonde. I want her to have no history of retardation in family. If possible, she must have plow experience.
Most of the dogs we get are black in color. We do get some yellows, and rarely we get some chocolate-colored ones too.
Ain't that a bit racialist, getting mainly black dogs to do this?
A couple of questions for the BBC. Are you aware of a program called Trumpton?
No, I'm not.
Because you got more dough than Windy Miller.
Well, that's very nice.
Back in the late 90s, a couple of maverick comedians breathed new life into the concept of the practical joke, masquerading as TV reporters and shamelessly taking advantage of celebrities and unsuspecting members of the public.
Why does you choose dogs to decide where bombs is? Why don't you choose a more intelligent animal like a dolphin?
In the noughties, Sacha Baron Cohen took his assault on the world to a whole new level with an outrageous character called Borat. TV reporter from Kazakhstan.
Yakshamesh. In US&A, if you want to marry a girl, you cannot just go to her father's house and swap her for 15 gallons of insecticide. Before American woman will allow you in her vagina, you must do something called dating.
The genesis of all that style that he does all harkens back to Ali G. And when Ali G first came out, it was like, whoa, I can't believe he's doing this sort of thing. But then, of course, the only way for him to keep doing it is to go further and further and further with it, to the point that you get Borat, which is just hilarious.
Why don't you give me a little bit on personality traits that you're looking for?
Yes. I want her to be blonde. I want her to have no history of retardation in family. If possible, she must have plow experience.
You're not going to find Americans with plow experience. Just to let you know, us American women, we don't have plow experience.
But not much, maybe 1 year or...
Honey, I have 0 plow experience.
So much more funny for us, because it's Americans that he's dealing with, and we already think they're all stupid. So for him to then go on as such a huge character, where us as an audience are sitting there going, how can these people not realise he's a comedian, you know, taking the piss? But they don't, because they're just thick, and cameras on them and stuff like that, so they just say stupid stuff. And he knew this, and he tapped into it.
You would like very much my sister. She is a beauty queen of Almaty. You want to see a picture?
Yes.
You want to see a picture?
Yes.
Oh my. You will like her very much. You want to move to USA?
How about that?
Wow, wait.
She will want to very much. She will like you very much.
She is beautiful.
Wow.
How about
she
that?
is nice.
Beautiful young lady.
That's not your...
Yeah, we make a joke. We pretend to be husband and wife. We pretend to be husband.
Oh my goodness.
She's crazy fun. She like... You'd like to meet.
I think he would.
Yes.
The brilliance of it was his seeming naivety. You know, he did these terrible, outrageous things, but it was always done with a huge innocence. You know, if there'd been anything knowing about Borat, it never would have worked. But because he almost seemed quite vulnerable in his naivety, people would forgive these terrible, outrageous things he was doing, simply because they felt sorry for him, that he didn't realise what he was doing was so awful.
Hello.
Can I have one 99 with flake?
Sure, that's what you want. That's what you're gonna get.
Can you, are you getting any...
Yeah, whatever you want, buddy.
Exploiting members of the public and getting away with it was extremely funny, if not a little shocking. But in the noughties, the fundamental rule of comedy, it seemed, was exactly that. Seeing how much you could get away with.
Well, for me, the big trend in the noughties, if you want to call it that, and in a funny way it was responsible for what I did, was the advent of cameras, weirdly. It was the fact that suddenly you could go into a shop and buy a camera that was small, and it was £1,000, and you could own it, and you didn't have to have, no offence to crew, but you didn't have to have an expensive crew around, and you could go out and just film your old stuff, and it was kind of like punk.
Hello! What? No, I'm in an internet cafe! Internet! No, I'm trying to download the what? No!
My show, Trigger Happy TV, was literally, I think the first show was the 14th of January 2000, so we were like the first show of the millennium. I remember I had a review from Victor Lewis Smith, which is something you always dread, and he called it the greatest show this century so far. But we were only 14 days in, but I was quite chuffed with that. Minicab! If I had to go and pitch you Trigger Happy, I'd say, well, it's kind of like, It's just me and everything. I'll shout into a big mobile phone. Occasionally I'll dress up as a squirrel and chase people and push them off bicycles, and I'm going to put lots of sad music on it. Oh, and sometimes I'll put slow motion on everything. I mean, you just think you're insane.
Give me something to fill the hole.
There sort of wasn't any legislation for that kind of show because it hadn't really occurred before. So we were lucky we got away with it. Now, I mean, when occasionally I try and do something like that, you know, there's just hoops you've got to go through now. You're like, what? I mean, it's insane. So I don't think we could make it now. And in America, for instance, if you try and make a hidden camera show, I think 17 states in America it's actually illegal to make hidden camera shows. I mean, certainly in California you can't do it. Nevada you can do anything in Nevada.
So where could comedians take the concept of practical joking next? Well, the answer was the good old-fashioned prank phone call. And the show, well, that was called Phone Jacker.
Sell me.
I don't have to sell you. You either want them or you don't.
Well, I don't know what they're like first, do I? I need descriptions.
You know, the light wooden things at the side with struts across.
Darcy's a clever one.
Phone Jacker and Face Jacker are the bastard sons, I suppose, on Channel 4, and weirdly a lot of people who were my runners and researchers on Trigger Happy then went on to direct it and make it.
Hello?
Hello, yes. Could you check something for me to see if it's in stock?
What is it, sir?
It's a large doved player.
Sorry?
Doved player.
What is that? Sorry.
It's play dovde.
Please, what?
Dovde.
Dovde?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I don't understand what you're...
You're not doved?
No, I don't.
Phone Jacker's funny. I like Phone Jacker. Because the notion, the format of prank calls, nobody thought could be done on the telly, and they managed to do it.
How much you sell me look at the turf?
Which one?
Look at the turf.
What is that?
I used to have the plasma turf, and now I wanted to buy the look at the turf.
Don't say look at it. I don't know what... It's LCD.
Yes, look at the...
No, we have LCD.
Well, what make you have in the look at the...
What make you want in a look at it?
The spoof phone call is, you know, the oldest trick in the world. You know, it was cheesy DJs were doing it on their breakfast shows in the 80s, actually. What Phone Jacker then did was put quite cool graphics on it. Because a spoof phone call, again, there is nothing to see. So that's why that on television traditionally hasn't worked. Because what would you show?
Hello?
Wooden ladders. Talk to me.
What about wooden ladders?
You got wooden ladders for sale?
Yeah?
Talk to me.
Phone Jacker kind of put another layer of comedy on it by developing these absurd characters so you could visualise who you thought was talking. So you made a lot of the jokes in your mind whilst listening to the tape. So it was a really nice combination of different layers of comedy.
But as comedy practical jokers got away with more and more, it was only a matter of time before someone took it too far. Take Jonathan Ross and Russell Brand, for example, when they made a prank call to Andrew Sachs. You know, the waiter from 40 Towers. During Russell Brand's radio show, it all went a bit wrong.
Talk to me.
At the BBC Trust headquarters in central London, after facing questions from the waiting media, Mr Thompson was to deliver the findings of BBC management's investigation into how the offending broadcast was allowed on air. The Ferrari has already claimed one victim, Russell Brand, who resigned yesterday, but also asked for Jonathan Ross to be spared the sacking that many are calling for.
Jonathan Ross and Russell Brand definitely went too far. They don't say any differently. They know that. That's not the point. The point is it front page news? Of course it's not. How can that be front page news? At best, it's a small caption in Heat magazine on page 28. How can that be front page news? A bloke rings up another bloke on his answering machine and leaves a message that's offensive. No one's saying it's a good idea, but there's a difference between not a good idea and let's hang him.
Thousands complained, and even to this day, what they said about Andrew Sachs's granddaughter is still considered too offensive for us to repeat.
I heard that one person complained about it, but then as soon as it was the Daily Mail or the Daily Dickheads or whatever, when they picked it up and ran with it, you know, suddenly it's like, oh, this is really disgusting. Did you actually hear the clip? No, but I don't like the idea of it. You know, they did a prank phone call to another comedian. Right? And we all know what Russell Brand's comedy's about. It's essentially about him banging as many chicks as possible.
Comedy's got to be on the edge. And if you're on the edge, sometimes you'll blunder over the edge. But hopefully, and here we go in a difficult metaphor, there'll be a bungee rope that you can come back. But what the BBC, they pushed him. They pushed everyone over the edge. You, the producer, over the edge. The executive, the head of the channel, over the edge. They're just pushing everyone over the edge. I understand why they had to do that, you know, because there was a massive outcry. But it was a shame that they did.
Comedy for once had gone too far. And so by the end of the noughties, we were ready for something light and unapologetically fluffy.
There you go, sir.
Coming up, I'll be looking at how the cosy sitcom made a spectacular return to favour.
Has Catherine Tate been an influence? Stop it. You're ridiculous.
Stop it! Everyone's looking at me.
Comedy in the noughties went through a number of phenomenal changes. It mercilessly mocked celebrities, became hyper-real, reflected an ASBO-infected youth culture, and ridiculed our politicians. It was a decade where we revelled in dark, edgy comedy, but luckily we hadn't lost our appetite for the brighter side of life.
Oh, can you believe we're actually going to meet tomorrow?
It's only 17 hours to go now, babes.
In 2007, comedy gave us a good old-fashioned love story between a boy from Billericay and a girl from Barry Island.
Gavin and Stacey made people feel good. It made people laugh. It made you want to be in the room with those people, if not be those people.
It was a feel-good love story with fantastic characters, and the Welsh accent is just intrinsically funny.
Stace, tomorrow morning you are travelling to London, England, to meet a boy you've never met before. I offered to come with you. You said no. I offered to drive you and wait in the car. You said no. Now, you've met me halfway on the rape alarm. At least have the decency to let me give you a demonstration. Because, I'll tell you this for nothing, if you come back Sunday raped and I showed you how to use it, I'll rest easy in my bed. You come back Sunday raped, the fault will lie solely at your door.
The character Bryn is just, he just says inappropriate things, but is so earnest with it that there's just this innocence.
It was great to see Rob Brydon because we'd got used to him as a certain sort of performer, quite brittle sort of dark performances. But what was great about him is that, why I admire him is that he made everything funny. Every little line, every look was very real. He showed what a great actor he is. But every moment he had in that was funny.
I can't. Do you want me to read it here? Dear Stacey, you want me to do it in your father's voice? With the lisp and everything? Right, okay. Dear Stacey, if you are reading this, it must be your wedding day. But if it is not, and Bryn has just left it lying around, then tell him he's a waste of space, could never be trusted to do anything properly. I'm not averse to some sentimentality. I mean, it's got a bad reputation, isn't it? It depends. I mean, you know, in Gavin and Stacey, we did a scene where Bryn is in the car with Stacey taking her off to her wedding, and he reads her the letter. Now, some people will say that is heart-rending, so real, right? Others will say it was sugary twat. You know, it really depends.
But don't you think you allow both of those things because you undercut it with saying, shall I do the speech impediment?
Well, that's what you try to do. That's what I was trying to, in the way I didn't write it, but in the way I delivered that line, yes. You know, for me, I think it's hilarious. I love you always.
Gavin and Stacey was brilliant because people loved the Gavin and Stacey love story, you know, that people were really buying into that and going with that need for that warmth.
I won't let you down, right? I'll get you to the church on time. I'll have the rings all ready. I'll do your blinding speech, right?
I think it's what's technically known as a warmedy It's a comedy that you feel warm about.
In the same year that Gavin and Stacey hit our screens, a financial crisis descended on the world. It hit our wallets, it hit our high streets, and it hit our house prices. Worst of all, nobody seemed to know what had gone wrong.
But nevertheless, when it goes wrong, the news can make it seem terrifying.
Today, stock markets across the world tumbled, imploded, continue to collapse like deflated dirigibles.
After all, if the boom of the past decade was all a dream, then the current situation is a nightmare rendered in calculus. Meaninglessly huge numbers, sliding graphs, a CGI red arrows display team crashing repeatedly to the floor, and one frightening prognosis after another.
We've all been told for the last couple of years, you're going to have to tighten your belts. Bad times are coming. Core services are going to be cut. People you love are going to suffer, if not you yourself. Nobody wants to turn the television on and see that reflected in a comedy show. At that point, you want to see something that will take your mind off it. At that point, you want to see something that involves fun and laughter and colours and daftness. And I think, so comedy might not be reflecting the times, but it's definitely reacting to it.
Luckily for us, there was one woman who would lift our spirits and take our minds off the impending doom.
Let me get you up to speed. Previously in my life, my mother tried to marry me off.
Someone, please marry my daughter. I'm not asking for money. I'm literally giving her away.
She was upset because I just told her how I blew my inheritance. I bought a joke shop.
Miranda is probably unconsciously a response to recession and to people feeling a bit depressed and austere and, you know, tightening their belts and all of that stuff. And people just want to sit at home and be made to laugh.
Well, that all went very well, I thought. Luckily, I enjoy living alone. When I pitched my show, I wanted to do a sitcom with a 1970s variety feel to it. And people were like, what? I said I want to do a sitcom, but I also want to look to camera. Initially I wanted to come down the stairs at the beginning of the show in a top hat and a cane and do a dance. I don't know why you're laughing.
There you go, sir.
Did you just call me sir? I just instinctively just wanted to look down the lens. I found it really difficult, comedically, to ignore the camera. And it just sort of felt... I just kind of, without sounding arrogant, because I'm not really, but I just kind of felt like I could make it funny. Well, doesn't mean I can't be feminine. Look at that. Yeah? Working it. It's all about the recovery, isn't it?
The advent of Miranda has been like sunshine. That's what I think it's been fantastic to have a woman being so carefree and not minding what anybody thinks about how she does it at all. She stepped back 20 years and claimed it for herself, and that is fantastically inspiring.
It's heartening to see that a decade that began with so much darkness and tragedy can end on such a comedy high note. But whether you've enjoyed the hyper-realism of The Office or the silliness of trigger-happy TV, I'm sure you will agree The Noughties was a vintage decade for comedy.
That was so shit.
Tit wank. Tit wank. When have you ever heard anyone in this office say tit wank?
If I had to sum up The Noughties in a comedic way, it's kind of what I sometimes get accused of, and a lot of people get accused of, and it really annoys me, but possibly it's true. It's cringe comedy.
And what she's actually thinking of is a black man's cock.
Comedy very much went from being a kind of a poor relation to a thing that
has been discussed seriously ends up with giant documentaries made about it, you know.
Actually, this looks wrong in public. So, comedy being so big is a brilliant thing. I think the more audiences it reaches, the better, really.
Doesn't get any better than this, and look at that beautiful British pie. Thank God you're here, pal.
I think we can safely say there was an awful lot of good comedy.
Yeah.
And
some that will be forgotten.
And some that we already can't remember.
Most other eras. Yeah. But when it was good, it was terribly, terribly good.
If you were to ask me to name 3 geniuses, I probably wouldn't say Einstein, Newton, you know. I'd go Milligan, Cleese, Everett, Sessions.
Let's say if you've got any decade that has The Office and Borat, that is a great decade.
Come on, okay? Okay. I win.
I think it's been a very good decade.
It's been a vintage decade.
It worries me that it's past.
Yeah.
So I think they should extend it.
Yes, exactly. So, that was The Noughties. I think our comedy had a lot of heart. I think it had a lot of balls. I think we've left it in pretty good shape. I'm glad I was part of it, and I look forward to seeing what the next decade brings. I hope I'm part of that as well. Because if I'm not, this will be a very sad retrospective by a very bitter comedian. Good night.
Charlie Brooker's Black Mirror concludes tomorrow at 9 with the entire history of you, where you can never escape your past. Then at 10 he's done Ali G, he's done Borat, now Sacha Baron Cohen's back with Bruno. Next tonight on 4, the number of the beast is 666 in the classic horror The Omen, which means 668 is the next door neighbour of the beast. Sorry.